Welcome to Sew with Monty. We are doing a little sample here of a centered zipper, or what some people refer to as a railroad zipper. And just as we did on the lapped zipper, we're going to use a 5/8 inch seam allowance so that we have plenty of room to turn back and top stitch along our zipper. So always remember, around your zipper area you need at least 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Even 3/4 in thicker fabrics like maybe a wool or a corduroy, you may want a little bit more than even 5/8. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the two edges together and we're going to sew all the way through 5/8 of an inch. But when we do this, we're going to stitch at the regular stitch length of 3 here. And then when we get to the bottom of the zipper, I'm just going to back up a little bit and then change my stitch length to 5, going all the way up through here. Because this is going to get ripped out in a little bit, and I want a nice, easy, open stitch so it makes it easy to rip it out. So let's head to the sewing machine and we'll go ahead and start this. Now I'm all set up to sew my seam for my centered zipper. I'm going to sew a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and I'm starting off from the top edge down to the bottom edge of my zipper with a stitch length of 5, nice and open. I'm going to do just the tiniest bit of a backup at the beginning. I don't want it too much because I just want it to be secure enough to sew the zipper and no more. So I'm just going to do about 3 or 4 stitches. And then I'm going to come off all the way down through here with 5/8 inch seam allowance. So nice big open stitch. It's a 5, so it's going to be nice and open until I get to my bottom mark, my notch at my bottom of my zipper. So when I get down to this little black line right here, I'm going to put my needle in and I'm going to come up, lift my foot up, and I'm going to change it to a 3 stitch length. And right here I'm going to back up just a little bit. So I'm just going to go up just to lock that stitch below the zipper so when I pull the rest of it out it doesn't ravel on out. So, and finish off the bottom. Now this is a sample, but if we were doing this for a garment, this would be the bottom edge of our garment. So up here you can see that the stitch is open, very open, and then I've backed up right here so that when I take the stitch out, when it's all done, my zipper won't ravel through. So I backed up here right at the notch and loosely backed up at the top. So now we're going to press this seam open and we're going to pin our zipper in. So I've pressed my seam flat and open so that it's ready to have the zipper pinned into it. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to take the top edge of my zipper right here and I'm going to place it in line just below my seam allowance that would be coming across my waist, right there. I'm going to put one temporary pin in here, just so I have it. And then I'm going to flip it over here. And the idea behind pinning this is I want to pin down the left side of my zipper, or the right side of my zipper, all the way to the bottom, and then up on this side. So when I get up here, I'll replace this pin with one that's on top. The idea behind it is that we keep the seam right on the teeth of our zipper. That's real important. So you want to continuously check that and make sure that you've got the seam right on your zipper teeth. So feel in there, make sure it's lined up. Now we're going to sew approximately 1/4 inch from the teeth. We're not going to get right on top of them because if we do, it will cause the lap on the zipper to stick up instead of laying down. So we can't get too close to the teeth this time. We're going to stay about 1/4 inch away. And if you need to mark this before you sew it, that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with marking it so that you can keep an even line. And there's the bottom of my zipper. So now I will come this way and I'll pin my zipper on this side. So I'm going to go all the way around my zipper. And what is so nice, that base stitch that we have in the center holds the two edges together and keeps control over them. So now we'll put our last pin in here. Now again, there's maybe a possibility I won't be able to sew near this zipper tab. We're going to see when we get over to the machine. If I can't accommodate the zipper tab, then I will start below it, sew around, stop just below it, take all the pins out, take my seam loose, and finish this at the end. So let's go to the sewing machine and let's see what we've got. So I've got my zipper foot on, and I wasn't able to go close to the zipper tab. Note that I've got the zipper tab turned upward so that I'm getting as close as I can to it. Let me show you. And it's turned up there, but I can't get close enough with this particular zipper foot to go around the tab. So I'll have to come back and do that in a second part. So I'm ready to get going. I'm going to just go right below the tab. I'm going to make sure my threads are nice and tight. And we're going to stay a 1/4 inch away from here. So what I've done is I've got my edge of my foot approximately an eighth of an inch away. So I'm just going to go down through here. I don't want to back up here because I don't want to make a knot when I come back and finish the top. So I'm just going to go nice and slow down through here, trying to keep my foot a 1/4 inch away from my seam. So just trying to keep it lined up so it stays a 1/4. Again, if you need to, there's nothing wrong with marking a line to sew on so that you keep it nice and neat. Just use your tailor's chalk or your tailor's pencil, and you can just mark it and go on down through there. Now I'm going to come all the way to the bottom of the foot, or the bottom of the zipper, needle in, and then I'm going to cross over right along the bottom. And then when I get to the other side, approximately the same distance away from my seam, I'm going to flip my zipper over and my zipper on this side as I am on the first side. And I got to move it over just a little bit. So you want to line this up so it's very nice and neat. I want to be an 1/8 of an inch away from my seam. So I'm going to come on down through here, keeping it an 1/8 of an inch away from my seam. Just go slow. Again, you can mark this if you need to. And if you have never done this before, you might want to mark it so that you get it just right. You can also baste this in. So if you're working on a fabric that has a tendency to slip, you may want to baste it in first so that it holds its place. So I'm going to come up as close to this zipper tab as I can get. Now this time I can get a little closer because I'm going in the opposite direction. But I probably won't be able to go around it. So I'll go right there and stop, lift my foot up, and trim my string. Now we're going to take a seam ripper and we're going to open this up down through here, and then we're going to sew the top part. So I've taken the stitch out, the base stitch that was in the center of my zipper, and now I've repinned the top edge of my zipper, the lap on my zipper, where the tab was, so that I can get in there and get close to it. And the other side as well has been pinned. So now I'm going to sew right along this line, keeping the same distance from my zipper that I was before, which is an 1/8 of an inch from the fold. And just back up a little bit, and then go forward. And as I come to my pin, I'm going to take it out, and I just want to align myself with the seam. As I come to it, I'm just going to overlap it. Now, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to sew the other side. Now we're sewing on a very lightweight white cotton with red stitching, so it really shows up every little detail. But if you were sewing on a more moderate weight fabric and you were matching your thread to your fabric, this would look much nicer. But this is the way we're going to learn how to do this. So we're going to show the seams. Now I've just lined up just right at the edge there. I'm going to go up about 3 stitches and back up just a little bit. And come on off, keeping that 1/8 inch spacing. Again, back up when you get to the top. And then we'll trim all of our threads. Trim them all away. And when we zip our zipper up, we have this beautiful centered zipper.